Okay, this is take two. I'm not sure why the first one didn't work. That sucks because, I had another video one to make. I won't have time before the bell. Okay, so we're going to use Cramer's rule. Notice Cramer's spelled with C. Cramer's rule to solve systems of equations. We're going to start with a 2 by 2. And I think I have I don't remember, 8 or 12 for the homework. They're all 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 systems. But here we go. Let me write down that system. You can hit pause. I'm going to, you know what? Maybe I don't want to hit pause. Maybe that was it. So let me just write the system. It's negative 7x plus 11y. Let me make sure it says recording. I was looking every time. Pause recording, so that implies that it's recording. Equals negative 1. 3x minus 9y equals 9. Okay, and here we go. Now let's go ahead and solve this system using Cramer's rule, that is. All right, there it is. Let me make sure. Yep. Okay, so here's my system. And in order to find x, we're going to have to find the determinant d sub x and divide it by the determinant d. And you go, what? I'll explain. And for y, we're going to find the determinant d sub y and divide it by d, determinant d. Now let's talk about what d is. That's an easier one to find. They're both pretty easy. D is going to be the determinant of the coefficients matrix above. And we can see the coefficients are negative 7, 11, and 3, negative 9. And this is obviously the same matrix here. So we'll move it down a little bit. Let's see if I can go up this way and back it up. All right. This is going to be negative 7, 11, 3, negative 9. Now, we got to find this d sub x and d sub y, and find the determinant of each of these. What d sub x implies is that we have to cover up the x column. Cover up the x column and move up everything else that's there, which is just the y column in this case. So it's going to be 11 and negative 9. And for d sub y, we're going to cover up the y column and move everything else that's up, which is only the x column in this case. That's going to be negative 7, 3. And you might be asking, what about this column that's blank? And what about this column that's blank? What you fill in that column is what these equations are equal to. So it's going to be negative 1, 9. It's going to be negative 1, 9. All right. Now we just have to find these determinants. Here we go. So we do downhill minus uphill every time. It's going to be negative 1 times negative 9 is 9, minus 9 times 11 is 99, divided by negative 7 times negative 9 is 63, minus 3 times 11 is 33. This is 90 negative, that is, all over 30, which is negative 3. And the top, let's do the, excuse me, for y now, we're going to do the numerator. It's going to be negative 7 times 9 is negative 63, minus 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. All over. Now you got your choice. You could do it again, right? But we just did it here. And so it's going to be the same determinant, which is 30. What's the disadvantage or danger in doing it that way? Well, the danger is if you screwed it up the first time, if you messed up the arithmetic the first time, obviously if you take that answer where it's wrong and just keep using it over and over, it's going to keep being wrong. So you got to be careful. I'm going to leave it up to you what you want to do. But here we go. It's going to be negative 63 plus 3 is negative 60 over 30, which is negative 2. So my solution, negative 3, negative 2. And you can always put it back in and see. Like I'm going to put a negative 3 in for x and a negative 2 in for y. I get 21 minus 22. That works. That's negative 1. And if I put a negative 3 in, it's got to work for both, though, for it to be a solution. If I put a negative 3 in for x and a negative 2 in for y, I get negative 9 plus 18. That would be positive 9. So this is the solution. All right, let's do the same thing, except this time we're going to do it for a 3 by 3 system. So let me show you our example for a 3 by 3. And there she blows. So let me write it out. It's going to be 4x minus y plus z equals 5. It's going to be 2x plus 2y plus 3z equals 10. It's going to be 5x minus 2y plus 6z equals 1. All right. Let me just make sure. A lot of times when you go fast, you write down, oh, I got a negative. Got a negative 5. I had positive 5. I'm glad I'm looking. And 5x minus 2. Okay, I think we're good. That would have sucked. All right, so here's the system. And I'm going to get a separate piece of paper because these take up a lot of real estate. One sheet of paper. Let's get like 2 or 3, whatever it is, whatever. Okay, here we go. So for the x variable, it's going to be d sub x over d. And I'm just going to move down because I'm going to need a lot of room here. For the y variable, it's going to be equal to d sub y over d. And for the z variable, it's going to be d sub z over d. And we have to find each of these. Okay, let's go ahead and do d sub x over d first. Let's go ahead and get d for every single one, right? Because that's the denominator for whether we're talking about x, y, or z, just d. And remember what d is. D is the coefficients matrix. So if I look at the coefficients, it's 4, negative 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, negative 2, 6. Let's go ahead and put that in there. 4, negative 1, 1. It is 2, 2, 3. And it is 5, negative 2, 6. And I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm just going to keep writing that same matrix because it is the same for all of them. 4, negative 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, negative 2, 6. And for z, it's going to be 4, negative 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, negative 2, and 6. Sorry about that. All right, now we got to figure out d sub x. And what I told you to do, for d sub x, you're going to cover up the x column. When you're trying to find x, you cover up the x column, you bring everything else up. That means the y column and the z column up. It's going to be negative 1, 2, negative 2. Don't lose signs. And now let's talk about it. For the x column, what am I going to put in that bare spot? I'm going to put in negative 5, 10, 1. What's it equal to? All right, on to the next one. So for this one, the numerator, I'm going to cover up I'm just going to use my pen if that's okay. I'm going to cover up the y column this time and bring up the x and the z columns. It's going to be 4, 2, 5, 1, 3, 6. And what we do in this blank column is we put what it's equal to, which is negative 5, 10, 1. All righty, and then for z, this time we're going to cover up the z column and keep the x and the y column. So this is going to be 4, 2, 5, negative 1, 2, negative 2. And what it's equal to is negative 5, 10, 1. All right, here we go, and away we go. Now we have to find some determinants. So it's going to be negative 5 times 2 times 6 is negative 60. And it's negative 1 times 3 times 1, which is negative 3. And so you do downhill minus uphill. Remember, I showed you 4 different ways to do it in class. And this was one way, which was just do it, right? You could do it by minors. You could add, remember how I showed you can column 1, column 2, column 3, column 1, column 2. That was another way. I'm going to teach a 4th way in class today. But anyway, there's 4 ways in class I showed you. I'm doing it this way, but you go ahead and figure out what you want to do it. So this is going to be 10 times negative 2 times 1 is 20. And this is going to be minus, I got to do uphill. 1 times 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 2 times negative 5 times 3 is plus 30. Yep. And 10 times negative 1 times 6 is negative 60. I got to go downhill minus uphill. So it's going to be 4 times 2 times 6 is 8 times 6 is 48. Negative 1 times 3 times 5 is negative 15. 2 times negative 2 times 1 is negative 4 minus 10. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. 2 times negative 1 times 6 is negative 12. So what I'm getting is, and I'm going to get a calculator out, I've got negative 60 minus 3, negative 83. I can do that one. And this is going to be minus 32, I think it's 28. Let's see. 30, come on. 32 minus 60 is minus 28. All over 48 minus 19 is 29 minus 10 minus 24 minus 12, just arithmetic after all, negative 26. I'm getting negative 83. Rowan, that would have sucked. It's minus negative 28. Hold on. You subtract a negative, it's like adding a positive. So it's going to be negative 55 over 55. And negative 55 over positive 55 is negative 1. There's my x value. All right, on to the next one. On the next one, we're going to do 4 times 10 times 6, 240. Negative 5 times 5 times 3 is negative 75. And 2 times 1 is 2. Minus, going uphill, it's 50. And plus 12. And that's going to be negative 30 times 2 is negative 60. All over. Now, here's what I was talking about before. It's the same matrix here, right? For the denominator, it's the same matrix. So you can roll the dice and say, I did it right the first time. So that's got to be the right answer is 55. I'm going to do it that way. Or you could, do it again. Make sure, do I get 55 again? Play it safe. If you get it wrong here, you're going to get it wrong 3 times in a row. Not good. So this is going to be equal to 240 minus 75 plus 2 is 167 minus, this is going to be minus 2 all over 55, which is 165 over 55, which is 3. All right, so far, I got 2 answers. And for the third one, for z, we're going to have to find z now. Let's go ahead and do this. It's going to be 4 times 2 times 1 is 8. Negative 1 times 10 times 5 is negative 50. And 2 times negative 2 times negative 5 is 20. Minus, it's going to be negative 50. That's going to be negative 80. And that's going to be negative 2. All over, again, you got your choice, but I'm going to put just 55. All right, so I've got 28 minus 50, which is negative 22. That's what this comes out to be. Minus, this is negative 132 all over 55, which is 110, positive 110 over 55, which is 2. So there it is. There it is, my solution. The x value is negative 1, the y value is 3, and the z value is 2. And I hope this one took. Here's my solution. Okay, you guys, catch you in class, and I'll see you later.